welcome back to test number 4 here on the Total Tactics testing series. This week we have a 5-2-1-2, so a little bit of a return to normalcy here for the channel after 2 straight releases of strikerless tactics, and this is a tactic that did really well on FM23 for us. It's a complete rebuild of that. It's not the same instructions or anything like that, so we've taken last year's 5-2-1-2, made a fair number of changes to it and the way it plays, adapted it for the match engine that we're seeing so far in FM23 and put that together for you. Now remember, all the tactics that we release on the channel are available for download on our Discord server. A link to join that server is in the description, so please get involved and grab the tactic from there. And again, soon we will be releasing the full FM23 testing database. For now, we are still testing tactics with Atalanta and Serie by holidaying a full season, but we are in progress right now developing the full tester database. And if you'd like early access to that testing database, join the Patreon for the channel and you'll get early access to that database when it is ready for live testing to make sure it is stable and working the way we intend it, and a whole host of other benefits. So check that out. And congratulations to our newest Patreon, Ultra. Thank you so much, friend, for joining the Total Tactics Patreon, and I hope to see many more of you getting involved in the future. But let's take a look at the tactic. So this is the tactic. Now, one thing that your eye might be immediately drawn to is that Enganche in the middle. And Enganche, you say, isn't that sort of a little bit too defensive for a tactic like this? Now, that's possible, but we'll walk through all the moving parts here before we get to the Enganche, and I'll kind of explain my thinking on why I tried that role here in this tactic. Okay, so 2 advanced forwards, pretty simple, but we'll start from the back. Just a goalkeeper on defend. I found the sweeper keepers so far this year, the decision making may be a little bit iffy, and maybe you're seeing some of those same issues. But the back 3 is what's interesting. We've got them playing a higher defensive line as part of a high press system. So 2 ball-playing defenders on cover on the outside. We've talked about on other videos, and you'll see in the highlights how important the ball player is at carrying the ball through that first level of the midfield, making sure they play on cover, make sure that, like, despite playing that higher line, it is a kind of a safety first sort of positioning too by these center backs, and it seems to, for me, strike a good balance. Now, the different role there is the no-nonsense center back on stopper in the middle. This has, I think, for me, cut down on a lot of those mistake defender moves that you've been seeing in other streamers' content, in draft videos, like all over the Football Manager 23 landscape. This stopper seems to break up play, intercept balls, play sort of like a halfback when the ball is out of possession, and when they're trying to transition on you. But when you have the ball, it settles into that normal just back 3 kind of like thing. So it's a good defensive shield, a nice tight organized back 3. But this stopper role does a really good job breaking up plays and stopping plays from getting to the position where you start to see those big defensive mistakes. Now, in the wingbacks, I am normally someone who's very like symmetrical in terms of like their wingback play on tactics like this. You double IWB, double wingback attack, like that kind of thing. But I've decided to go for kind of like a balanced system here. The one support wingback pairing the CM attack, the attack wingback pairing the DLP, with like the Enganche as the pivot in between. So we're going for more of a balanced, positive approach. And part of that is because I think the FM23 match engine rewards patience, rewards balance and positive mentalities. That tends to work in more situations, like using attacking as a mentality is a little bit more situational, and something that you can definitely do, but you kind of have to find the right moment in the game to do it. So playing on positive, playing on balance, and having this kind of like flexible, balanced midfield too in terms of its roles and its mentality and attack points is something that's really helpful to me. But let's talk about this Enganche, because the Enganche is interesting because the Enganche has the ability to get further forward and have hold position turned on. So I have turned on get further forward. I've also turned on mark tighter and tackle harder. I want this Enganche, when they have the ball, getting on top of their defense and helping and being a part of the press. So I'm using the player instructions to do that. But then I'm also telling them to get further forward. So they are making runs off the ball to help you in defense rather than just being a deep lying pivot. Like, that's not what we want. We don't want this person that's hanging back and only being a pivot, especially when paired with a DLP. So turning on get further forward separates those two roles from each other and makes sure that when the Enganche does not have the ball, they are advancing their runs forward. They're being a part of like your progression through the defensive zones. And that one tiny team instruction really transforms the Enganche position. And you will see in the goal highlights what I'm talking about and how effective the Enganche can be off the ball in this tactic, which is something I think will surprise you. But I love this tactic. I've spent a lot of time explaining it here. It's a pretty big breakdown section, but again, we do have overlaps turned on. We want those wingbacks staying wide and being a part of the offensive facilitators, and I think they do a good job of that. We want the ball being passed into space to those strikers in behind, and the goal scoring record of those strikers, Zapata scored 33 goals on the season, shows that that's kind of effective as well. So I hope you enjoy the tactic. Let's take a look at some of the highlights before we get to the results. All right, on this first highlight, we get to see some of that Enganche in action that we were talking about. So if you remember back to the individual instructions of the Enganche role in the tactic, they are set to get further forward. So they will be looking for opportunities when they arise to get further forward. And so here we're going to see just one of those opportunities. So I'm going to push play on the highlight here and start the ball with Zappacosta at midfield. Now, Scalvini moves this ball up here, Pasalic to Duvan Zapata, and that is where we just saw Malinowski pounce and see their opportunities. So if we back up a little bit on this highlight, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about with this movement from the man, this takes forever. From this Enganche, right? So there is no player in this middle here, right? Like, you've got the midfield trio here of AC Milan stepped up here with Tonali, Beneche, and Pasalic are all pressing, and Brahim Diaz are all pressing Mario Pasalic. He is able to release the ball to Duvan Zapata. I don't know if AC Milan is like tight marking or anything like that, and that's why, but Cher and Tamori are both watching the two strikers. So here we go. There's Malinowski. Like, the Enganche is not sitting deep. He's not waiting way back here to be involved in the play. Pasalic has the ball on the midfield, so Malinowski is starting to move forward. So as soon as Zapata completes his job pulling this defender wide, Malinowski's there to attack the space. Like, he keeps moving, and Tamori's out of position. He's not there in time, and the goal is scored. And this turned out to be the winning goal in the Italian Cup final for Atalanta against Milan as well, which I think is a cool little accomplishment for the test. All right, let's look at another highlight where it involves the Enganche finishing in the goals, because I think it's interesting. And this is one where the play comes from out wide, so it shows you a little bit more about that Enganche continuing their run. It's not just completely static midfield position like people, I think, kind of assume of the Enganche. Maybe this will convince you to kind of give it a try as well. But here, Joachim Mele plays the early cross into Zapata, who pulls wide. And again, there's that Enganche, Malinowski, in the box at the penalty spot, just continuing the run, even when the play is passing through outside. So I just want you to think a little bit differently about the way that Enganche moves on the pitch, like what they can offer to you going forward and how to use them. And it's something that I think can provide you both goals and assists in your tactics. So give it a shot. I think this highlight illustrates two concepts that are worth talking about and kind of repeating here on the channel. And the first is ball-playing defenders are super OP this year. I like 3 at the back. A lot of other people don't right now, but for me, 3 at the back really gives license to a player to carry the ball out of defense really aggressively without exposing behind, because there is that other 2 defenders to kind of shield that, and that's the freedom that Toloi feels on this play. The second thing is I want to say is, like, you don't have wingers in this tactic. So if you can get their fullbacks to commit defensively to your wide player, then all of a sudden there's acres of space for your double advanced forwards. Double advanced forward might be one of the criticisms of this tactic, but I think it's pretty important that once their fullbacks are isolated or like dealt with and out of the play, they can't help anymore. Whereas if you're playing those complete forwards, deep lying forwards, pressing forwards, the lateral movement of those positions plays the left back back and the right back into position a lot, whereas those advanced forwards and poachers stay in the middle. They stay holding their lines, ready to make those runs off the shoulders of the center backs. And if you can take the fullbacks out of the game with no defensive duties, then you can really cause trouble for the opposition. And I think this highlight shows both things. So let's watch Toloi here advance the ball through. And then when Toloi releases this pass after this little run here, like Hateboer here, and guess who this is? This is DeSiglio, right? So our right back has committed their left back into defense, which means we have striker, and then they have their two defenders, Bremer and Bonucci, and that's it, right? Two strikers on two defenders. No fullback here for the interception, no fullback to help pinch the channel, nothing. So if Hateboer releases the quick ball here into space, and it's Muriel who gets there first. Now, it does sort of highlight that defenders for the AI do seem to be a little bit bad on the turn this year, which is one of the reasons why I like low crosses and advanced forwards and shadow strikers and CM attacks and things like that. Make runs in behind because the AI defenders are not very good on the turn, your own included. So this gives you a good chance to sort of take advantage of this sort of like inefficiency in the match engine right now. So let's watch it play out. But there we go. Hateboer gets that ball through. Bonucci is too slow. Muriel attacks the space, has a free run on the ball, and then scores to the back post. So it's just a goal that kind of illustrates how a couple things right now are working in the match engine. And I hope it helps you develop your own tactics, even if you're not going to play with this one. So a lot of goals in the tactic do come from the right side where this wing back is on attack, marauding down this wing. So here's another example of Zappacosta in at right back being very high up the pitch, catching this ball from this pass coming from the left on the switch, almost already at the top of the 18, and then able to create space, get the ball across where there are multiple runners. And again, the Enganche, Malinovsky, scores again, being way involved in the play and as active as you would expect from any other attacking midfield attacking option. So again, I can't say this enough. The Enganche could be really incredible and like a thing for you to consider when you're thinking about your tactics this year. But let's watch the highlight kind of play out here again. So Melee gets this ball across here. Hateboer, my apologies, not Zappacosta, inside the 18, gets that ball across, and there's the Enganche Malinovsky there to tuck it home. All right, so the results are pretty impressive. Atalanta has won the league on 88 points with a plus 63 goal difference. Some of these player stats that you can see here, Zapata did lead the team with 33 goals. Now, Hateboer with 14 assists is also very interesting because, remember, Hateboer is starting as that wingback attack on the right, and that's where the offense is coming through. So we have chosen that right side as the point of attack. Now, if you have your best attacking left winger is on the left, you could flip this tactic, put the CM attack on the right, the DLP on the left, and kind of rebalance that midfield to make sure that your most offensive wingback is in charge of the play offensively. But Hateboer is driving the offense on that right side, sending those crosses in, finding Duvan Zapata, finding Muriel, finding Lookman when Lookman plays striker in the tactic as well. You'll see he was the third leading scorer for the team, and that's a big part of why the tactic is working, is making sure that offense runs through that right-hand side with that wing-back on attack. Now, here's the full table. 96 goals scored for Atalanta, only 33 conceded. A fantastic season, only 4 losses on the season for Atalanta. It's a season in which Atalanta won the Italian Cup and the league here with this tactic, and I think it's just one that's really impressive, and I hope that you'll give this tactic a chance too. And, winning the league despite the fact that the Inter and AC Milan won their last 10 games combined, and yet Atalanta still held on for the title of Serie A, which is a very impressive finish. But we take one quick look here at the squad to see where these appearances and the goals were coming from. Zapata, again, 33 goals in 42 games, with the assists coming from this DLP position on the right, 10 assists for Coop Miners, and then you've also got the additional 14 assists in 30 games for that right wing back as well. So the Enganche, 14 goals from Malinovsky playing in the, my apologies, 8 goals for the Enganche on the season. You saw several of them in the highlight package, but again, Malinovsky didn't play the whole year, so that's eight goals in, 2/3 of a season playing as the Enganche to go with those 11 assists. Very effective role, and one that we've got a lot of joy out of. Lookman, as well as the backup striker, chipping out 14 goals. Muriel had a serious injury as well, only played half the season, and in that half the season, though, put up 14 goals from that second striker position. So you're seeing 28 goals from one striker and 33 from the other. A very impressive goal return. And Zappacosta, too, as that backup right wing back, another 8 assists as well from the backup right wing back. So it's clear to see where the offense is coming from in the stats, and something that this I just really think this is a really balanced, well-structured 5-at-the-back tactic. I would really encourage you to download it and try it. Remember, the Patreon is available. It's open now. There's a link in the description. We have our first 2 patrons on the channel, Mate Benchik and Ultre as well. Thank you to both of you for supporting the channel. And as always, like and subscribe. That's very important to supporting the channel. We are pushing towards 1,000 subs, and we recently crossed the 600 subscriber threshold. So thank you so much to everyone who has supported the channel so far. Get involved on the Patreon, get involved in the Discord. It's really a great community for testing tactics, getting advice, running your ideas off of other people. We have a draft through the Discord as well that is run by iWarf FM, one of the moderators, who does an incredible job putting that event on as well. So lots of ways to get involved in our community on our Discord server. So I would urge you to do that and become a part of the conversation. Leave a comment on the video below too, and tell me what you think about the tactics so far. How do you feel about the match engine? What's working for you? And is there anything you want to see me explore on FM23 and really work towards building a new tactic for? Just, get involved in the comments, subscribe to the video, and let me know how you're enjoying the new game. I'm enjoying it so far. There are a lot of things to kind of figure out about FM23, but once we get a handle on them all, I think the game will only continue to improve. But for now, I will see you later for test number 5 and other tip videos in the future. But enjoy the 5-2-1-2, and I hope it wins you lots of games.